My name is Jane Kittredge, and I want to welcome you to the Vermont Symphony Orchestra's third virtual concert made for our friends at AgeWell, with special thanks for support from AARP, American Association of Retired Persons. Today, we are performing from the lovely sanctuary of the Charlotte Congregational Church, and our focus is on faith and music. As a special treat, we'll be interspersing stories from some of your own clients and volunteers who were kind enough to share how faith and music have been a part of their lives and helped them through the past year. Our focus for this concert is sacred music, and specifically composers who were both supported and inspired by their work in religious institutions. From the basic elements of music theory to contemporary art song, the evolution of composition is intrinsically intertwined with the history of worship. Today, we sample a chronology of composers whose church work helped open a door to vast musical careers. Our opening pieces feature two Renaissance composers, Jacques Arcadelt and Thomas Morley. Arcadelt was perhaps the most prominent madrigal writer of his time, thanks to decades spent working as a papal singer in Rome's Sistine Chapel choir. Likewise, Thomas Morley also made a living as a choir member, in addition to his duties as a composer and organist at London's St. Paul's Cathedral. Morley is known for working with William Shakespeare, setting verse to an evolving genre of polyphonic vocal music. With my colleagues, Kathy Andrew and Alison Cerruti, we offer Jacques Arcadelt's four-part madrigal Il Bianco e Dolce Cigno, which translates as The White and Lovely Swan, followed by two short lute duets transcribed for violin by Thomas Morley. Sacred music may have hit a creative peak during the Baroque era. French composer Jean-Philippe Rameau was one of many composers who not only composed music for a church service, but performed these compositions himself. After abandoning a career in law to become a musician, he worked as a violinist, harpsichordist, and organist in French cathedrals at the turn of the 18th century. Allison will perform Rameau's beautifully haunting 1728 composition titled simply Gavotte with Variations in A minor.
My name is Diana Guy Pell, and I live in Essex Center. I just love singing at home, singing hymns and taking piano lessons. I started piano lessons when I was about 6 years old. I took for about 10 years, and then I did not take any lessons for 47 years while raising our children. But then I decided I really wanted to have that as a hobby and get back into piano. So now I've been taking 10 years as a senior adult. My piano teacher actually comes to my house, and I am so grateful. She lives alone, and we felt it was safe. And I think it was important to continue so I wouldn't forget and lose ground. I've learned hymns and classical music, and music has helped me during the pandemic so much by singing hymns, taking the piano lessons, and reading the Bible. In the morning, I have my reading of the Bible every morning, and then I sing a couple of hymns. And then throughout the day, I just think of something, and it triggers off the first words or the title of a hymn, and I just sing and enjoy it, enjoy myself. I think I'm very cheerful because singing and knowing Christ gives me hope, peace, encouragement, joy. If you haven't started to sing, start to sing or keep singing. My hope is in the Lord, who gave himself for me, who paid the price of all my sin at Calvary. For me and you he died, for me and you he lives, and everlasting life and light he freely gives.
Johann Sebastian Bach's volumes of sacred music literally fills libraries. Stacked on top of each other, one might imagine that these pieces would reach the International Space Station. From the age of 18 to 51, Bach worked in and composed pieces for Lutheran, Catholic, and Protestant churches, and in doing so greatly expanded and evolved the repertoire of all instruments. His genius can hardly be summarized in a single piece, but his concerto for violin and oboe in C minor certainly reflects his mastery of counterpoint, texture, harmony, and enduring melody. While neither Kathy nor I play the oboe, we think the piece works just as well with two violins.
My name is Sarah Dopp, and I'm a resident of South Burlington. I've been a member of my church choir in one form or another since probably about the age of 5, which is 65 years ago plus at this point. I joined the junior choir at First Baptist Church. I think I was 5, and then proceeded through the youth choir, and then joined the chancel choir, so-called, the adult choir, and I've been a member of that group ever since. My mother was the organist there at First Baptist for 30 years, and she had the privilege of playing our historic E and GG Hook organ, built in 1864. It's the oldest tracker organ in Burlington, and still quite a draw for organists. I enjoy the fact that there are sort of two aspects, I think, of being part of a church choir. One is the social aspect, whereby you are meeting with like-minded people once a week to practice, and you form a real bond, and we sometimes socialize with each other outside of the choir rehearsals. We pray together, and we support each other in practical ways. So there's that whole small group dynamic that's very important to all of us. And then the other part, of course, is the sort of religious aspect of it. It's a way for us to express faith and express, I guess you'd say, the deepest emotions that humans can feel. Awe and wonder and grief and joy. things that are hard to express sometimes in words, but are easier to express in music. For everybody, there have been discouraging times, and yet I've sort of felt especially lucky, blessed, whatever you want to call it, during the year. And I have nothing really to complain about at all. And so many people have had deep, deep grief. So somehow the bridge to those people and the bridge to, my own faith is largely through music, greatly through music.
Classical German composer Joseph Haydn began his musical studies at age 6. Leaving his family and moving in with relatives to train as a singer and instrumentalist, he spent the majority of his childhood being educated and working in church sanctuaries. Known now as the father of the string quartet, the humorous Haydn was incredibly adept at writing chamber music. Among his many collections is a set of minuets, from which we will play his third Menuetto in G major.
My name is Paul Hoffman, and I live in the town of Ferrisburg, Vermont. Music was a large part of my becoming a minister, I believe. I was raised in the Lutheran Church from a small boy and heard a lot of the hymns that were being sung by my parents who were in the choir and the church, so that when I joined the church in Ferrisburg, I was acquainted with a lot of the music there in the hymnal. What I realized was that singing these words in this song was speaking to my heart about who God is and what God does. And it really was instrumental, and no pun intended, in getting me into the next step, which was a Tres Dias weekend. That's a 3-day spirit-filled weekend in which you're introduced to a personal relationship with Christ in your life. So I went to that weekend, and there's more music, and the music was brought to us by guitars. So I taught myself how to play guitar with the songbook that the Tres Dias had. And soon after that, I was playing guitar in church, bringing that music to people who were searching for Christ in their lives. It's just really speaking to me. And while this was going on, people would come up to me in my church and say, you should think about ministry, and we need to get you into seminary. I applied to Drew University online. I took my guitar to Drew and played it there, and certainly when I got assigned to a church, my first church was in Northfield, Vermont, and I took my guitar there and played there some. People would look forward to my coming and bringing my guitar. I could see in their faces, and you can read the joy that it is bringing. As we're being able to get back together, they warn us, no singing, even if you have a mask on. We can still sing at home. It's just so comforting, I think. If people might, have an opportunity to sit down, if they're fortunate enough to have a hymnal or even find something online to sing with them, and it's just such a soothing thing to do, to sing. If you can't carry a tune in a bucket, you can even sing at home.
French Romantic composer Leo Delibes has written some of the most famous and luscious operatic melodies. Born into a musical family, Delibes always knew that his true passion was composing ballets and operas. While working as a church organist, he gained fame in 1866 for his ballet music and thus became a full-time composer. Lakmé, his most famous opera, premiered in 1883 in France and went on to reach over 1,000 performances in the same theater by 1931. We will play perhaps the most recognizable melody from Lakmé, the Flower Duet.
My name is Robin Hewitt, and I live in Bristol, Vermont. Faith has been key in my life. I've always had a love for music, but I began actually singing publicly in church. I was 12, 13 years old, and an elderly matriarch in our church approached a classmate of mine and myself and said, "You guys will be singing in church on Sunday, and you're going to sing Joy is Like the Rain." I never took piano lessons or never learned to read music, but singing in a choir every Sunday and having to learn to sight read from a hymnal was very helpful. We would have special ecumenical concerts, and then I learned to play guitar when I was 17. And my friend had been playing guitar for years, and we partnered up, and we would go and sing for different things, for weddings, for funerals, for special concerts, or just in church. So church has pretty been my strength in music. I have sung at coffee shops and different other things. I think my music, my singing in the church choir, kept me connected to my faith through the time in my life, or most teenagers' lives, where they kind of wander away from the church or lose that connection. I was grateful that I was able to stick with my faith, and music was the instrument that kept me connected. So that has carried me through a lot of losses in my life. I can feel the grief, but I can also find the gratitude. And the music brings us back to a place of comfort and security and hope. I just have a peace about myself and my life, and trust that, there's a light at the end of the tunnel.
We'd like to end our program with a contemporary arrangement of a hymn by Jacques Berthier called Confitimini Domino, or Come Fill Our Hearts with Your Peace. Integral and ubiquitous in church services, hymns also represent the fundamentals of sound musical composition. To this day, students in conservatories across the world study hymns for their correct theoretical treatment of melody, harmony, and counterpoint. Written in 1991 for the Taizé tradition, Confitimini Domino is a meditative hymn designed to calm, comfort, and soothe. We're so happy you could join us for this virtual concert. We want to thank AARP for its support in helping make this performance happen and connecting us with our senior communities in Vermont. Best wishes from all of us at the Vermont Symphony Orchestra for a bright and beautiful spring.
Thank you.